Casting from the basement of La Penta, it's WICR.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Sports Vault. Jersey Joe Archino back here, and there are not a lot of debates in sports that I enjoy talking about more than the top 5 players in NBA history. I have carefully studied, back when the NBA had its 50th anniversary, they came out with the top 50 players of all time. I have the NBA encyclopedia, and I can't tell you how many summers that I spent growing up reading the bios. I basically have all the stat lines memorized. I mean, I live and breathe for this top 50 ranking list of all time. But 50 is a lot, and I think we all enjoy compiling it down to 5. And compiling it down to 5 is difficult, and we all have different opinions. But I think at the end of the day, when you look at the top 5 released the other day by ESPN, that is as good as it gets. I mean, the order you can disagree with, but I think those 5 players are undisputable. And there was one off their list, which I think got a lot of people upset, and I understand it, and I'll read them to you, though. According to the NBA BBVA Compass Top 5 in NBA history, they are Michael Jordan, number 1, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, number 2, LeBron James, number 3, Magic Johnson, number 4, and Wilt Chamberlain, number 5. Now, obviously, like I was just referencing to a minute ago, the one big name off this list that a lot of people think has to be here is Bill Russell. Mainly the 11 rings, the most winning player in NBA history. Now, I'm not one to really argue against Bill Russell, but you have to put it into context in terms of history of the NBA. When Bill Russell played in the NBA that was composed of 8 teams. And think about that for a minute. We've got 30 today. When Bill Russell and then Wilt were going up against each other, it was an 8-team league for many of those years. And to me, I don't want to say I hold those titles in less light than I do with the newer ones, but I think you kind of have to, because when there's 8 teams and you're the Boston Celtics and you have all the players, you have the best coach, literally the Celtics, there's a reason they won all those titles. They had all the best players. They had arguably the best player aside from Wilt. I mean, that era of basketball was dominated by Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell. The difference between the two of them, Wilt didn't have the supporting players, didn't have the supporting coaches, and Bill Russell did. That is the inherent difference, and it's why Bill Russell won all those titles. Again, this is not taking anything away from that player. He's one of the greatest of all time, undisputable in the top 10. You probably should put him at number 6. But in my top 5, I can't put him there with these other guys. Now, you're going to make that same, if I make that statement, you're going to say, well, what about Wilt? Wilt, I think, to me, is different. To me, on this list, I'll give you the championships. Michael Jordan has 6, of course. Kareem has 6. LeBron has 2. Magic has 5. And Wilt has 2. So LeBron and Wilt are the 2 guys who have won the least titles on this list. But the 2 of them share a very important difference, and that's that they were thrown into situations where the talent and the supporting cast was not always in their side. I look at Wilt and I look at LeBron and I say, there's never been another 2 players in the history of the game who've changed the way the game was played from a versatility standpoint, and there's never been another player in the NBA who's had to overcome more and done more with less than Wilt Chamberlain and then LeBron James. Wilt obviously won one of his titles with the Lakers with Jerry West, and he won one of them with Philadelphia, and that was kind of hidden in between all those Bill Russell championship years. But that one title to me means so much because, again, in an 8-team league where one of those teams is far and alone better than everyone else, has all the players, has the best coach, he won one with a clearly inferior supporting cast. To me, Wilt Chamberlain and LeBron James have had to overcome circumstances that no other player has ever had to overcome, and that's why I think they are very deserving of being in this top 5. And, people are gonna go crazy over the LeBron thing, but again, you have to look at it from how did they change the game? Did these 2 players change the game? There's no question. Wilt Chamberlain averaged 50 points a game for an entire season. Wilt Chamberlain has put up numbers that we will never see replicated again. I mean, obviously the game was different back then, but numbers are numbers, and those numbers are just overwhelming and can't be replicated again. LeBron James, he changed the game in terms of his versatility. There's never been another player who could play point guard, who could play any position on the floor at a given time. LeBron has the speed, the size, and the strength to do anything on the floor. He can take away your best defender. It doesn't matter what position he is. He is an effortless scorer, one of the best scorers we've ever seen, but his game is defined by passing first. He has the scoring ability of a Kobe with the passing ability of a Magic Johnson. He is the perfect hybrid of those guys. And you're going to say, well, if he's that great, why hasn't he won more titles? And obviously that all comes back to where these players start out with impacts them greatly the rest of their career. LeBron was thrown into a situation unlike any other player. He was thrown into an organization with an owner that didn't know how to put together a winning championship organization. From the front office to the coaching staff to the players around him, he always had the lackluster, not enough help. He had Zydrunas Ilgauskas, Daniel Gibson, Mike Brown. He didn't have the pieces in place to overcome, and he brought the worst roster in NBA Finals history against the San Antonio Spurs. They got swept for nothing, but that right there went to show you that's how far one player can take a team without help. He did something we will never see again. There will never be another player, not even I don't think Michael Jordan, because of the way he played with the scoring first mentality, could have taken that roster to the NBA Finals. That's something only a player of LeBron's caliber and skill set could have done. But I think enough on LeBron and Wilt. Their places are very warranted here. The rest of them on this list, of course, Michael at 1, which is the easy one. There's no one who doesn't have MJ as the number 1 player of all time. Any list, if you have Mike, you have to have MJ as number 1. Just the way they're in terms of pure dominance, there's never going to be another player who dominated that a competitive era. And I think a lot of us consider the 90s to be the most competitive era in NBA history, and I think rightfully so. You look at the centers that dominated that era, guys like David Robinson, Patrick Ewing, Hakeem Olajuwon. You had the Phoenix Suns era. You had the Charles Barkleys of the world. You had a Reggie Miller's Indiana teams. There were, and it really, it's funny because, Michael Jordan, before he started winning the titles, the Bulls, they started slowly but surely taking over. Their dominance was starting. The Pistons kind of had the end of their run. There's always different eras in NBA history, The Lakers, the Showtime Lakers were kind of coming to an end. The bad boy Pistons had their run where they won 2 titles. The Lakers get back. Michael wins his first ring, but different eras call for different styles, and really Magic and Bird we all credit for saving the game. The 80s started out bleak, but they really prolonged it and saved it, and then the 90s was the EPA, the mecca of NBA basketball. Such a competitive time, and Michael just owned them, and if he didn't go to play baseball, I think we all kind of think he probably would have won a 7th and an 8th title. I really don't think there's anyone else who could have beaten those teams then with Phil Jackson and Michael playing the way that he was. There's not another team, and again, it's so easy, and I'm not going to go overboard because we all know why Michael Jordan's the best player of all time. We've all seen the videos, we've seen the stats, we know why he's so good. He's the undisputed best player of all time, and right behind him is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. The one thing on Kareem's career that I think doesn't get mentioned enough is the title that he won with the Milwaukee Bucks. Everybody remembers the Lakers titles, but everyone always glances over that title he won with Milwaukee. The Milwaukee Bucks might never do anything relevant in NBA history again. Let's just be honest. The way that the game is today, the way that the money is with the big-name markets, the big-name teams, we will probably never see the Milwaukee Bucks win another title. I'm just being honest. I hate to really bash the Bucks. I got nothing against them, but if you look at the NBA realistically, there's no reason to believe this is an organization that's ever going to win another NBA title. What he did, taking that team, winning a title with an Oscar Robertson that was still, Oscar Robertson with his mind, but clearly from a physical standpoint, it wasn't the Oscar Robertson we're so accustomed to watching. I mean, Oscar Robertson, again, another guy in the top 10, and you could argue is in the top 5 of all time. Again, one of those guys that we don't have as much film on like these other ones, not as many highlights, but he's the only player in NBA history to average a triple-double for an entire season. That's something no one else has ever done. Just think about that for a minute. That's over 10 points, over 10 rebounds, and over 10 assists every single game. That is just almost a mind-boggling stat line. He averaged a triple-double for an entire season. I mean, again, it's something you will never see again. There's no question about that. And numbers like that just tell you the testament to how great this player was. But going back to Kareem for a minute, that title that he won with Milwaukee shows why he's so special. And I think the moves that he had were so patented, his skyhook, everything that he did. But, winning a title with an organization that's new, that there's uncertainty, that is the testament to the ultimate. And Kareem exemplifies that in so many ways. And, Michael had the Bulls. Rather a good amount of stability. Magic had the Lakers. Good amount of stability. An organization that has their act together, knows what they're doing, has been there before. To take an organization that's never even tasted something like that before is really, to me, puts you a little bit above a lot of other guys. And that's why, to me, LeBron, when he brought the Cavs there, even though they lost the first time, he literally took everything, every part of that organization on the back of him and brought them to that finals. And I don't know if he'll ever be able to deliver with the way the Golden State Warriors are playing. I just don't know if it's going to happen. But, I will still always look at that with LeBron and say he did something no other player could do. And I think when you look at all 5 of these players, you could honestly pick each one and say, he did something no other player in NBA history could ever do. He did something no other player in NBA history could ever do. It's something unique to all 5 of these players, and it's something that makes them stand out as the top 5 players in NBA history. And just a fun little count, between the 5 of them, there's 21 NBA championships and 22 MVP awards. This is the cream of the crop when it comes to the best players to ever play this game and who ever played this game. Again, there are guys you could debate. This is what's fun about it. This is a debatable topic, but I think they got it right with those 5 guys. People are going to argue Bill Russell with me. People are going to argue other names with me. But to me, these are the top 5 players in NBA history because I can argue for each one of them. There's something about that player that I can't find any other player who ever could have done that. I'm not sure if during that era there was another player like Kareem who could have taken the Milwaukee Bucks in their new iteration and won an NBA title. I don't know if there's another player who could have taken that roster in 2007 to the finals like LeBron James did. I don't think there's another player in NBA history who could have shown the dominant run of a Michael Jordan. And I certainly don't know if there's another player in NBA history who could have averaged 50 points a game for an entire season. There's something inherently unique about each one of these individuals, and if you're trying to debate the top 5 players of all time, I don't think that you look any further past them. Just one more run through just to before we end this segment. Michael Jordan, number 1. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, number 2. LeBron James, number 3. Magic Johnson, number 4. And Wilt Chamberlain, number 5. To me, and I think to a lot of us, the top 5 players in NBA history, something inherently unique about each one of them. But until the next time, Jersey Joe Archino here with the Sports Vault. You can follow me on Twitter at Joe Archino, on Instagram, Jersey_Joe_Archino, and we'll see everybody next time.